We're back at the table this week with the Line Opinion panelists. The pregnancy rate among teens in our state has dropped quite a bit in recent years, but New Mexico still has one of the highest teen birth rates here in the country. Now, many local media outlets covered a report from this week from the Legislative Finance Committee on the issue of teen pregnancy. The LFC provides analysis to state lawmakers, and this report found that there is not a clear strategy for reducing teen pregnancy even further here in New Mexico. Diane, let me start with you. This came up during your time, certainly when you were Lieutenant Governor under Governor Richardson. We've tackled this here in this very studio with Public Square, our program here on many occasions. There's a fundamental problem with the teen pregnancy issue here. We're stuck somehow. What do you attribute the stickiness to?
Well, I think we don't stick with any one effort to get the long-term results that we really need to get. Certainly what the reports have been is there's going to be an effort to try to coordinate, but there's a few principles about reducing teen pregnancy. One is talking to parents about how to communicate with their kids, parental involvement. One of them is free, confidential, contraceptive provisions where they can, and that doesn't happen in school-based health centers. Kids go to school-based health centers, but not about contraceptives.
That's right.
So that has to be part of it. The Plain Talk program that they used to have, the Young Fathers program, some of those programs, the Teen Pregnancy Coalition under this administration and the public health has defunded it, whether that's lack of resources or they've gone back to accepting the abstinence only, which I think is like living in the world of real denial because it doesn't work for kids. But I think so I think we have to watch those numbers carefully because my fear is they're going to head back up, and it's directly tied to the poverty rate in New Mexico. Teen pregnancy is directly tied to people's economic circumstances in most cases. But what you're seeing in Lee County, where I come from, very prosperous, low unemployment rate, has the highest teen pregnancy rate in the state right now. Highest teen pregnancy rate in the state. That's because they have no place for kids to go to get confidential sex education, or they have no health centers that provide free, confidential contraceptive advice to them. And there you are.
Cause and effect, as they say. You know, Tom, God, I got so wrapped up in listening to the Lieutenant Governor there. It was interesting. I didn't realize that. That's really fascinating. But the idea of the LFC saying, look, y'all need a plan. Someone needs to put together a plan. And I appreciate what the Lieutenant Governor, it's a long-term thing. This is going to be over a course of a generation, if not more, to clear this up. But it has to start somewhere. Who should start this plan?
Well, I think that, to the Lieutenant Governor's point, the plan has already been put into play. And unfortunately, it all changes based on who's in office. And so I think that, both parties need to, or all three if we include independents, need to be able to say, here's what is acceptable for us. We like parts of this plan, parts of that plan. It's clear that at least right now anyway, based on the numbers, that there's more of an issue outside of the urban areas, definitely more of an issue in the rural areas. What's working in the urban areas? Are there key messages that are working, key approaches, access to facilities, access to counseling, family values, whatever that means where people are. And really, let's take a hodgepodge of what's working in different areas and put it into one giant plan. But I think that the plans are already in existence. We just need to, all agree on which direction we want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Vicki, the idea that you can have a stable teen pregnancy rate, and it could, one way, it looks like we're making good progress. You know what I mean? That's the tricky part of this thing. But you look at it in another way, it seems to me there should be a panic of some sort. This issue doesn't really seem to rise to the surface as a panic issue for us here in New Mexico. Is it because we're so familiar with teen pregnancy? Like, what do you attribute
I wonder
that
if
to?
that's part of it, and I think what Tom says is very, what is working in the urban areas? Well, let's take that even further out. What is working in the states that are at the top of the list? The number 2 states, what is working there? Is the access? I mean, when you hear that you have a bigger problem in the rural areas, of course access is going to be the first thing you think of. Do they have access? Yes, we would all love to say, oh, my teenager is not going to have sex.
That's right.
Wake up, kids. I mean, what you're totally living in a crazy world at that point. And even if they aren't, why wouldn't you want to be proactive and take care of them?
That's right.
I just think that having that access, and again, we're defunding. It's just like our discussion that we had around mental health issues, drug issues. If we don't have the money to put into this, but I mean, we've got states that are doing a great job. let's not reinvent the wheel. Call them up and say, what are you guys doing that we can copy?
That makes sense. You know, Phil, what was interesting in the report as well is the idea or the fact that we do not have a standard way to talk about kids about teen pregnancy and avoidance in the schools. Everyone's doing their own sort of ad hoc hodgepodge thing. We have a standard, but no one seems to be following it. And it seems to me there's no one person or one entity that could make every school do this. I mean, nobody follows up, nobody, asks. What do you make of that? That was interesting to me.
Create a program, I guess. That seems to be the answer for everything. Let's call it the sex education czar.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's got to start at home.
Okay.
You've got to have moms and dads, and unfortunately, a lot of these people don't have that direction. But
so, what do you do if that's the case?
you've got to start there, and then the school has got to, I'm not one of these kind of people that don't believe that we can't be educating young people on this issue.
Okay.
Outside of the home, but we got to go from everywhere. We got to go from the house. We've got to go from the churches. We've got to go with the schools. It has to be something that we're all sending the same message over and over and over again. I know it may get boring to you and me,
It's all right.
but when you're young, you've got to have some ways, and we've got to find a way to reach these people.
Yeah.
$75 million a year to maintain the state just on these programs to help these children and these moms is a lot of money that we're spending just to maintain their families. The other question is, where's the dads? And that's another issue I think we have to be aware of. Where's the guys involved in this?
Yeah, interesting there. Now let's take a little pivot from that issue. I'd like to try something new here this week on New Mexico in Focus. We want to get our line opinion panelists to take on another story in the news this week, a national story this time, and a big one. Caitlyn Jenner was in the headlines in recent days. She was born Bruce Jenner, of course, and she first became known nationally as a gold medal winner in the '76 Summer Olympics. Her transition has a lot of people talking about what it means to be transgender. And Vicki, let me start with you on this one. Basically, Facebook has blown up on this.
Blown up.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Blown up.
And I like the fact there's lots of support out there, there's lots of things, but there's also a lot of foolishness out there too. It's a big thing for a lot of folks to choke down, isn't it? But what do you make of this cultural moment we're having right now?
I
with
think it's
Caitlyn Jenner?
awesome. I really do. I think that it's great that we're having this conversation. And there's factions all within these discussions. So you have people who support her, but, that's not really courageous. Because, if she's courageous, now the real courageous people are our military. And so
I've seen
for
a lot
me,
of that,
I like to go back to, we have a great feminist, Patricia Hill Collins, who always talks about it's not either or, it's both and.
Right.
And get rid of this old patriarchal way of thinking, it's either or, one or the other. It can be both. She can be courageous for doing this. That doesn't take anything away from our military, our police officers. Your courage is not dependent on something else.
Yeah.
And, we have lost transgendered people in this community in very violent ways over and over. Many of those still haven't been reported by the news. And I think it's our new civil rights of this era.
There you go. Phil, your thought on this?
Well, there is a very large segment of this country that absolutely does not buy this. Whether you want to force these people to buy it, whether you want to say to them, you have to believe this way, you're going to find that there are people that will not accept this, period. And yes, it may be on the news, it could be in magazines, but I think you have to look at both sides of the coin here. No one should hurt people like this. No one should kill people like this, like she was mentioning people to be being killed. But you at the same time have to respect people's thoughts and their beliefs. If you like it, fine. If you don't, okay. And that's where it goes.
Interestingly, Tom, I think all of us at this table remember those '76 games. I was actually in Montreal for that. I didn't watch any of that. Those were expensive tickets. But the man was an unbelievable athlete at that time. And I think for what Phil's getting a little bit, I think a lot of us have trouble transitioning ourselves into thinking about a person like Bruce Jenner in another way as a female. It's a difficult leap for a lot of people. Yeah. How do we get around that in our society?
Well, there's, both Phil and Vicki bring us some excellent points. And, I think a lot of folks, in my generation are just,
Right.
the mind is going, wow, never thought we'd have this discussion,
That's
let
right.
alone on Facebook.
That's right.
And it has been very volatile. I mean, you have different sides. There's no real middle ground on
Right.
it. And I think that, what it provides the opportunity for is that if there are folks who are encouraged and empowered by it, then let's let them be encouraged and empowered. If you don't agree with it, you're entitled to your opinion. If you agree with it, you are too.
Right.
It's just one of these things. It's I wouldn't call it the next great civil rights struggle, because I'm not convinced that it is yet. But it is just simply right now a time of discovery that I think folks are really kind of trying to find out how do they feel about this particular issue.
Diane, one of the things I found interesting in the feedback is the sense that, look, Caitlyn Jenner, you look at the picture, if you didn't know any better, certainly a beautiful woman. You wouldn't think twice about it. But not all trans people are beautiful in a way that we would get him on a Vanity Fair cover. Do you know what I mean? It's a different deal.
Yeah.
And so are we making too much of her beauty at the expense of understanding that there's other things going on here besides how one perceives somebody two-dimensionally?
Right.
You see what I mean?
Well,
It's
so
tricky.
I think we've elevated the conversation, and I think that's important. I agree with, the people around that, as a regular person, you think, well, that's great, that's their life, it doesn't really affect my life. I don't, people say they don't buy it or
Right.
whatever. As a woman, and somebody who watched the 1976 Olympics, I'll have to always say, oh yeah,
That's right.
that's Bruce, who's now a her. It's the generational thing that's going to happen. But I think it does free up younger people who are feeling those internal struggles about their lives. It's all part of the greater cultural revolution around gay marriage, around same-sex marriage, around acceptance. And I'm assuming that in a few years, years ago, same-sex marriage was just not. Now, a majority of the country understands it, believes in it. Transgender situations are going to be exactly the same. People, living their true selves and their real lives. And
Yeah.
I think we just have to follow, his family has been really, I'm sure they've had a lot to work through.
I couldn't even
but
imagine.
they're,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
accepting and
Yeah, interesting time. We're going to look back on this 10 years from now. It's going to
Yeah.
be very interesting, isn't it? It's really kind of fascinating.
let's
Yeah.
not forget that, this is all money making for somebody on the front of Vanity
That's right, that's
Fair,
right.
And, there
a good
there
point.
is that little kind of cynical side of me that says, enough is enough.
Yeah,
We
there you
know
go.
it. Bruce is a girl. Great.
Yeah, there you go. That's all the time we have this week. Join us online to hear what these guys have to think about the latest lottery scholarship developments in the news. Good deal. I'm Gene Grant. Thank you for joining us for this edition of New Mexico in Focus. The Albuquerque Folk Festival takes place on Saturday, June 6th. And a quick note from our interview on the festival last week. It will take place at Balloon Fiesta Museum, not Balloon Fiesta Park. We hope everyone who attends this year has a great time. I hope to see you there. Now, as always, we appreciate your time and effort to stay informed and engaged, and we'll see you next week in Focus. Get a preview of what's coming up on the next New Mexico in Focus. It's easy. Sign up for our weekly email at newmexicoinfocus.org.